Good evening. I guess I'm the last presenter before the party tonight, so I'll try to be quick. So my name is Finbar Moynihan. I'm the Vice President of Corporate Marketing at MediaTek, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time today just to talk about how MediaTek is delivering solutions to enable intelligent edge IoT devices. And hopefully I'll share with you how we're leveraging a lot of the core technology that we've developed, the core products that we've developed, frankly, for a lot of our consumer applications, and now moving those into more IoT applications, including into industrial spaces. So for people that may not be familiar with MediaTek, we're a Taiwanese headquartered company. We're the 7th largest semiconductor company globally, and we're the 4th largest fabless semiconductor company, with revenues over $17 billion last year, and we're investing, $3.5 billion a year in R&D that's feeding all of the products I'm going to be talking about today. MediaTek is probably best known as a supplier of silicon solutions, so systems on chip, connectivity, power management solutions for a whole host of big vertical consumer markets, some of which are shown here. For many years, we've been the #1 supplier of solutions for smart TVs and digital TVs. We have probably the #1 position in Wi-Fi connectivity for retail routers, repeaters, operator broadband platforms, consumer electronics products, and IoT. And then in Q3 of 2020, we became the #1 supplier of chipsets for smartphones, and we've held that position for the last 7 quarters, as well as multiple other big market share in these consumer product markets. MediaTek's had a multi-year relationship and partnership with Amazon, which we're very proud of. MediaTek solutions, both the chipset, the SoC, the connectivity, and the power management, supplies or powers a whole host of Amazon devices, from the tablets to the Fire TV products, to the Alexa Echo speakers and smart speakers, and more recently also some of the e-reader products. Indeed, in 2020, we worked with Amazon to integrate their AZ1 neural edge processing IP into one of our chipsets that allowed them to do inference, powerful inference in the edge at the device, basically running neural processing for the voice application on the device, ultimately allowing Alexa to respond more quickly, more efficiently, and with lower power on the device at the edge. All of this experience at MediaTek in these consumer electronics products has enabled us to engage with customers building lots of other types of products. And I think we all see in the world today around us, the IoT term is probably abused to some degree, but there's a whole host of devices that we experience in our daily life, whether it's in consumer products or in the enterprise space, that are beginning to integrate some of these features from these consumer electronics products. So the use of AI technology, the integration of voice or computer vision using machine learning and AI technologies, the addition of large screen displays, the need for video and display capability on these devices for the user interface or for other content. Connectivity, whether it's through Wi-Fi or through cellular connectivity, basically allowing these devices to communicate with the cloud and deliver new services to the users and to the consumers. And these are just a few examples that I wanted to share here. A lot of exercise equipment, integrates these large displays, cloud connectivity, and a lot of these are powered by MediaTek. Smart appliances are beginning to do the same, including devices like the smart oven by June that's shown here. And also another strong area of focus for us has been in retail point-of-sale terminals, where again, these are integrating connectivity, AI capability, display, multimedia, running a high-level operating system. This space, which we call the AIoT space for AI, OT at the edge, is a very important growth segment for MediaTek and one which we see a lot of growth. This is some data from the analyst firm IDC, where they project that the semiconductor content in this IoT space will grow from about $6 billion this year to about $9 billion by 2026, with about a 10% annual compound growth rate. And this excludes some of the big digital consumer markets like smartphones, TVs, tablets that I was talking about earlier. This is really in that broad base of connected applications that we collectively call IoT. And those are going to break down, as you can see in the graph, into consumer applications. So things like the smart fitness, smart home appliances, smart home devices that we were talking about earlier. Also in the industrial space, where we will see things like kiosks, point-of-sale terminals, vending machines, maybe charging stations, and a lot of other infrastructure that's going to need this kind of capability. And then finally, the largest segment in the long run is going to be in the industrial space for things like, industrial PCs, robotics, computer vision applications, et cetera, for factories, particularly as industry is migrating to Industry 4.0, moving from proprietary standards to more open standards for connectivity, and moving to new computing solutions with new requirements of the SoCs. So with all of that background, last month in May of this year, MediaTek launched our new Genio platform targeting specifically the IoT space. And really what we're trying to do here is to bring all of that capability, all of that technology, all of that know-how from our existing businesses, but add some of the extra requirements that are needed to support these customers in these markets that are targeting these connected edge or smart edge devices. And really, there are 6 key platforms that we're focused on that really go behind the Genio platform for IoT. First, we're focused on delivering high-performance, low-power solutions. MediaTek is one of the largest customers of ARM. We use ARM-based technology for all of the applications I was talking about earlier. And with our scale and our partnership with TSMC for leading-edge semiconductor processes, as I'll show you later, we are able to bring very high-performance, very low-power chipset solutions, computing solutions to market for these applications. Unlike our traditional consumer markets where the life cycle is 2 years, 3 years, for these markets, we recognize that we need to have a much different approach to product longevity. So for these markets, we're committing to 10 years supply of the chipsets that are going to be available to these customers. And on top of that, 3 years commitment on operating system updates and a further 3 years of security updates on top of that. Obviously, IoT means connectivity. Connectivity implies Wi-Fi connectivity or cellular connectivity. MediaTek is a leading supplier of these technologies, both on the 5G side and on the Wi-Fi connectivity side. So today, we can offer connectivity over 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E, and even recently, we've started to demonstrate some of our Wi-Fi 7 next generation technology, which will be coming next year. We have a very rich history of multimedia capability, video, display, camera processing. And more recently, as we'll talk about later, we've been integrating more and more acceleration, optimized AI acceleration to do more and more machine learning at low power at the edge on these devices. Security is always important. It's important, frankly, in all of the platforms we develop, so we're able to bring a lot of that capability into this space as well. And then the other big platform that defines our Genio product line is a single unified SDK across Android and Linux, Yocto and Ubuntu distributions that allows customers to pick the operating system that works best for their application. This is a bit of a, let's say, a visual representation of the Genio platform, sort of from the bottom up, if you like. So, from the hardware level that we supply, the chipsets, the SoC, computing, connectivity, power management. On top of which you find the unified SDK, as I was mentioning, Yocto Linux, Ubuntu, or Android. And then a big area of focus for us is really what goes above that. So one is developer resources, making this platform easy and accessible for people to develop with, because we recognize that unlike our traditional markets, this is a much broader based, much more fragmented market where people have very unique set of requirements. So you'll find website, documentation, developer tools, training, etc. And then we can't do all this alone. So another big important aspect of this is our partner ecosystem, where we can allow our partners to develop hardware, software solutions on top of this to deliver the final application that's needed for the customer. Speaking of partners, we're happy to say that the Genio platform, we're already part of the AWS Partner network. The Genio platform has also been qualified for the Amazon Greengrass IoT platform. And because we're delivering this as a unified platform across all of these chipsets that I'll share later, this is leveraged across all of these different devices. You see at the bottom some of our partners, and this list continues to grow as we enable new suppliers, new partners, hardware, software, system-level partners to deliver solutions to the market. The QR code will take you to our developer portal where you can find more information. I should press the green button. The Genio family is not one product. In fact, we have a portfolio of products. So at one end, at the low end, we have what we call the Genio 130, and that's really more of an entry-level microcontroller-based Cortex M33 product. But it does integrate Wi-Fi 6, it integrates Bluetooth, and some versions of it also have an audio DSP integrated for voice processing applications. So that's a little bit of a special case. The other products, the 350, the Genio 500, and the one I'll talk most about today, the Genio 1200, are really more of a high-level operating system, Linux, Android-based platforms. From the entry level all the way up to the new Genio 1200, which is our high-end platform that we just released a few weeks ago. And then we'll have more products coming at different tiers as we go forward. But all of these will deliver the same Genio promise that I was talking about. The high-end Genio 1200 that we just launched is really an advanced 6 nanometer, so very advanced process, high-end, low-power application processor, suitable for applications like industrial IoT applications, anything that's demanding from an AI embedded space, even smart home appliances, smart home solutions. It integrates an octa-core ARM architecture with 4 Cortex A78s and 4 Cortex A55s. It's got an integrated ARM Mali G57 GPU, multicore 5. And then we've got a very rich multimedia capability, support for 4K video, encode, decode, high-end camera ISP with low light capability, up to a single camera of 48 megapixels or dual camera 16 plus 16 megapixels. And we've also integrated support for dual 4K displays with high refresh rate. Again, so depending on your application, quite a lot of flexibility, quite a lot of scaling. And we have integrated dedicated hardware for AI acceleration, or AI processing unit, or APU as we call it. And I'll share some more data on that. As I mentioned, really a rich multimedia, rich AI capability, rich graphical and display capability for a whole host of these, smart, intelligent edge devices that we've been talking about. To make a little bit of a sort of a quantitative comparison, the new Genio 1200 product with the octa-core Cortex A78, A55, comparing it to a previous generation which was built in 12 nanometer. So this is a combination now of moving from 12 nanometer to 6 nanometer advanced process, moving from Cortex A76 to the newer Cortex A78. We can see about a 35% performance improvement for computing applications, and at the same time see about a 25% reduction in the power consumption, which, as we all know, power consumption continues to be a driving factor for a selection for a lot of applications going forward. As I mentioned, we integrate dedicated hardware, proprietary IP from MediaTek. This is our third generation of our AI processing unit, which allows acceleration of AI applications. We've got a dual-core APU built into this platform, which allows for up to 4.8 TOPS, or tera-ops per second, of AI calculations and performance. And that tends to be very closely linked with our camera and our ISP technology, which, as I mentioned, supports very low light for obviously demanding applications. We can support dual 16 plus 16 megapixel camera or a single 48 megapixel camera. And then a lot of the AI processing is obviously using the camera data for object detection, object recognition, or other use cases. On the multimedia side, as I mentioned, we have support for 4K video encode, decode, including the HEVC standard, as well as the older H.264 video standard. And we can support up to dual 4K displays on this product. And then, as I mentioned earlier, with our strong connectivity capability, we can extend, or we can offer support for connectivity to Wi-Fi 6 or 6E today, 7 in the future. And then obviously we have solutions for 5G cellular connectivity as well that integrate via modules into the platform. As I mentioned, a big focus on these platforms is adding support for AI processing, making that available, accessible at the edge, locally, in low power. When we go back a few years before we started integrating sort of this capability, so I'm talking 2018, 19 kind of time frame, we really weren't adding any dedicated hardware. We were relying on more generic DSP type solutions to do some of the AI processing on the edge. And that particular product, we still make available. It's more of an entry product, but it gives you about 0.3 TOPS of sort of AI processing performance, just to give it a bit of a metric. Actually, at this event, the last time we were here in 2019, one of my colleagues presented the solution in the middle, which was our second generation APU solution at the time. And that delivered about 2.2 TOPS of performance for AI processing. The Genio 1200 on the right, with our new third generation APU architecture, we also still keep some of the DSPs on there as well for visual processing, can deliver about 4.8 TOPS, as I mentioned. And so that allows, obviously, for much higher performance, much more capability for processing images, for object detection, object recognition, even for doing things like AI super resolution, or sort of upscaling an image that you may have to a higher resolution if that's what you want to do. So say from 360p to 720p. MediaTek also offers what we call NeuroPilot. It's essentially our SDK for popular AI frameworks. So basically, think of this as a API layer SDK that sits on top of the platform and basically allows interface to the common AI frameworks, TensorFlow, PyTorch, etc. And so basically what it's doing is mapping those AI applications onto the hardware, whether it's CPU, GPU, or this dedicated machine learning accelerator, the APU that I was talking about. So again, it makes it very easy to adapt to the common AI frameworks. So where is all this going? Basically, what we're trying to do, what we're seeing as an opportunity, is basically enabling AI innovation at the edge, whether it's in some of these consumer applications that we talked about. But more and more, I think what we see the shift or the opportunity growing in is in enterprise and in industrial applications. Moving into the industrial space does require a little bit of a rethink on our part, coming from the consumer space. So there are things we have to do in addition to our standard products. But we have been at this for a while. We have a lot of experience in automotive and other areas as well that have helped here. But for example, compared to the consumer market, you need to have wider temperature range support, which we can offer now on these products. We obviously have to meet the requirements of industrial board designs. We deliver the open standard Linux and Ubuntu frameworks that I was talking about earlier. We've committed to the product longevity, both in terms of silicon and software availability. And of course, high reliability is important in everything we do. We've also recently partnered with some of these well-known names in the field, Advantech, AdLink, Contran, who are very well-known, very well-recognized solution providers. And in fact, they're already demonstrating solutions in the market based on the Genio 1200. And so really this opens up for us, and I think for our partners, a lot of opportunity in some of these segments: robotics, AIDC, so automatic identification and data collection, human-machine interface, industrial PCs, industrial gateways, and a whole host of new applications. In fact, our platform is also ready for robotics, so we've put a big focus on this, which I think we've all seen as all these cool examples of at the event this week. But the platform is already ready for robotics. Obviously, we have a lot of performance in terms of computing that I was talking about. We've built in support for the real-time requirements of real-time Linux and time-sensitive networking over Ethernet. And we also have ROS2 framework running on the platform, which allows, obviously, developers easy access to the ROS2 framework for their application. And all of this, like I said, I think is really going to open up a lot of new and exciting opportunities. I was amazed walking around the tech forum this week, just seeing some of the crazy things that we're doing with robotics as an industry right now. But we see that as another opportunity, both in consumer applications and in industrial applications, whether it's for positioning, auto picking, defect detection, inspection, or a whole host of other applications. So hopefully with that short introduction, I've given you a sense of MediaTek as a company, where we're able to bring a lot of our core competency and technology, whether that's from the advanced computing, GPU, CPU, and AI processing, our partnership with TSMC for leading-edge process technology, which can deliver high-performance, low-power, cost-effective solutions. I think our experience in connectivity is also critical, being a leading supplier of Wi-Fi and 5G connectivity solutions to the industries that I was talking about earlier. But bringing all of that together and then adding the extensions that are needed to support this broad base of customers in the industrial, in the enterprise, and ultimately in the IoT space. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, let you all get to the party early. So thank you for coming at the end of the day. I appreciate it. And if there are any questions, we can hang around for a few minutes after the session and answer them if you do have any questions. Thank you very much.